Everybody, it's beau-hindman for massively.com, and it is the 29th of October 2013. It's a couple days before Halloween, so it's like All Hallows Eve, something like that. And I tried very hard not to come on so strong at the beginning of my streams because I notice that whenever I do my usual hello or whatever I do, it really just just blows you away with sound. So I hope I didn't blow everybody's ears off just then. Today's going to be a very special stream for me, especially because everybody knows I play way too many games. It's my job. It's what I enjoy. Speaking of jobs, I hope all of you have gone over and applied for Massively's new columnist position. But anyway, it's my job to play games, so I play a million games. But this game that you're seeing right now, Vanguard Saga-of-Heroes, is a game that is probably one of my top 3 titles that really has crafted me into the idiot that I am today. If that's good, if you like that, then cool. Joining me are some special people as well. There's some of the people that work on the game. And I'm going to open up my little notes here to make sure. We have Wigan, who's a developer, correct?
Yep, that's me.
These aren't the real names, I take it, but that's fine. Where does Wigan come from? Anything special?
Come from Massachusetts originally, so I'm pretty stoked right now with the Red Sox.
Well, I was talking more of the name, like where did you come up with the name? Hey, that's cool too.
The name actually also popular right now. Originally got Wigan from Ender's Game when I was a kid reading that book, and that was something that was near and dear to my heart, so kind of appropriated that name from Ender's last name.
Very cool. I'm actually supposed to be reading that right now, but I have not gotten around to it. So I'll be trying to do that. Then we have T-Lock, is that right?
That's it.
And you are a programmer.
Yep.
Okay, and you basically help, what do you do?
I'm the code monkey in the corner. Anytime something breaks that everyone else can't fix, they're like, Tim! And then I come.
Oh, you're the guy who gets yelled at for all that stuff. Okay, that's cool. So if something goes wrong, and by the way, whenever a lot of people ask me, Beau, you do a lot of live streams with devs, especially over the last 6 months to a year, or whatever. I say yes. That's because it's fun to have like basically experts on the stream. So if my game messes up, I don't have to file a report. I can just ask them right there. So it's really all just for my selfish reasons. And then we have Queck. Is that right? You're an artist?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
You said artist earlier, and I asked you what kind. And I'm
mostly
very serious.
Yeah, I'm mostly a 3D artist.
Okay.
And I also do animations.
So let's say they've come up with a monster. You're the person they're going to bring the monster to in the hopes that you're going to make it walk around cool and look neat and all that kind of stuff like that.
Pretty much sums it up.
Okay, very cool. And how long have each of you been with the company? Because you know what, I have done a lot of interviews with the cast and crew of Vanguard Saga-of-Heroes, and I've never talked to any of you. I think some of you might have come from other projects.
You look like
I actually started in QA on Vanguard Saga-of-Heroes about 2 months after release, and
wow.
I've worked on the project for almost my whole time at SOE. I did a little stint in our compatibility lab, and then I eventually became a developer through our apprenticeship program, and now I'm sort of living the dream and being a game designer.
Very cool. Now, you'll have to forgive me a little bit because when I do a lot of these interviews while I'm playing, I'm actually trying to play the game. So if I mess up a little bit, just keep talking and I'll actually... QA for Vanguard at launch, that must have been rough. Does that sound familiar?
There were a lot of bugs that got put in at launch. We wish it had been a little bit smoother, but... eventually becoming a designer, there were a couple times where I got to go in and see the bugs that had just kind of sat there for a while, and I got to fix some of the bugs that I put in, and that always felt really good to be like, I found that bug, and now I get to fix it.
Very cool. Yeah, that's one of the special things about, I think, being a gaming fan, and in fact, we talked about this last week a couple times, is that gaming, especially MMO gaming, is such a tight-knit community that you really can grow in it. You can become a fan, you could work for a company, especially Sony or somebody like that. You could get into QA and stuff and work your way up and eventually be working on it. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people might know this who might be watching this now or later. My ex-co-host for the Vanguard podcast is Margaret Crone, who now works, of course, on Planet Side 2. So there you go. So, I mean, it's just small world. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
I remember when she started here.
Yeah, she's pretty hardcore. I don't know if you know that she's a hardcore Vanguard player.
She was a blood mage. I remember the day she started because I think she was the blood mage class lead when she got hired here. So
she was hardcore. In fact, we had her on the show to kind of, we were kind of like who am I trying to think of? You know, the odd couple. You know, I was the casual kind of person that, you know, nobody seemed to think could do anything, and she was a person who knew everything about the game. Is really fantastic to have on there. Okay, so while we're talking though, what I actually did is I went and I started a brand new character with the idea that I was going to go ahead and use him as my. If you're familiar with me, you might have remembered what I had a long time ago called the Immersion Project. The Immersion Project was literally a kind of a set of rules that I made that made me play a certain way. If I had to eat at a certain time, I had to. I didn't use any flying mounts, although now I'm breaking that rule. I turned off all of the UI. I had to use the sun for the direction, the sun and the moon. So I had this really immersive style of play that I kept for a long time. But one of the rules was that I would use permadeath. If I was to be killed, my character was killed, I'd literally get out and delete the character, and I have actually done that in the past with a level 32. So the idea was I was going to make a brand new kind of permadeath character, but I'm not sure how much I'm going to be streaming Vanguard, because our streams are getting a little tighter, a little less often. But keep that in mind. I might be doing that. So let's see here. My character's name is Vridge. Oh my gosh, that's Dutch for making love. All right. I had no idea. So now I know. Let me turn the music down just a little bit. Okay. So my character. Somebody suggested it. I think. No, I think I just came up with it last time. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to pull up my list here. Going to make sure I'm talking to everybody. So Wigan, you're a developer. So have you been playing Vanguard long? Have you been with the company for long?
Yeah, since Vanguard's
Oh, that's who I was
launch.
talking to.
Yeah, I've been here the longest. Sort of just learning Vanguard. Played it a bunch. Not as much as I'd like, but you know, it's hard to keep up with a lot of the really enthusiastic fans we have, and but yeah, no, I've been working on it for almost the whole time since launch in one way or another.
Okay, so T-Lock then, tell me your story with Sony.
So I started as a developer, part-time developer while attending university here in San Diego, and then after graduating, they hired me on full-time, and I, you know, told them, hey, you know, I can do programming, you know, and they were like, oh, okay, well, let's try that, and so from there, I just kind of started doing programming instead.
Okay, very sorry. I was concentrating on chopping down my tree. This is one of the great things about Vanguard is you'll actually physically chop down trees. It takes a while to actually chop them down at a set amount of time, and then you actually harvest the parts from the fallen tree. Now the trees do respawn automatically, correct?
It's pretty quickly. Yeah.
Especially in the newbie areas, the first couple trees you hit will be up very quickly, so that somebody who is just learning harvesting will always have trees open right available to them. As you get higher and higher level and higher skills, they'll be more spread out and they'll spawn in a much more dynamic manner, so that you can't just always go to the same place and chop them down. But that's something that we encouraged for new people, so that they didn't have to really search for that first tree to knock down.
Yeah, the harvesting was one of the more realistic kind of immersive aspects of Vanguard. And I remember when people first played it, like, oh my gosh, you chop the tree and it actually animates and it falls down. And it's one of the most relaxing aspects of Vanguard. You can just kind of sit back for an evening of harvesting. You can go around and gather. Now this is how long I've been playing Vanguard. I used to play back in the day when harvesting, you used to be able to harvest and sell the goods on the market and make a lot of your money that way. Is that still a possibility to you? Any of you know?
With our newest expansion, Cave of Wonders, there's going to be we're trying to create more of a market for the harvesting and crafting items.
Okay.
So you will need some of the harvesting items for some of the really high-end gear. So the end level harvesting ultra rare should get a lot more demand.
Okay,
But people are still building houses, so you still need some of the mid-tier collectibles for houses and stuff like that.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. The housing is non-instance. For a lot of people who don't know how Vanguard works, there is no instance in Vanguard, but there is kind of like you do have some dungeons where you can create like a mirror image of the dungeon in case of overcrowding. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have sharding for APW. So if there's a lot of people running that dungeon, because it's a very large raid dungeon, they can you can create and go to your own separate instance or shard of it.
Right. But other than that,
it's all open world.
Right. In fact, one of the great things, and I've showed this before on my Vanguard live streams, is that one of the most interesting things about Vanguard is if I pop on my flying mount here, which, by the way, I bought in the cash shop, the item shop, however you want to say it. I don't know how you describe it. Station cash shop. There you go. I bought it. That's a big deal. I was surprised to see you guys selling flying mounts in the item shop. Did you get much blowback on that, or how have people responded?
I think initially we did, but you know the mounts that you can earn in game are better than the ones that you can buy at the store, and so it was a good way of allowing people who wanted to get their flying mount even for just cosmetic reasons can get it. But if they want the fastest flying mount in game, that's something that they have to play it and earn it.
You still have the best things in game, yeah. And as a matter of fact, when you made your recent turnaround to free to play, was that a big topic of discussion? Was how you were going to do the station cash shop?
Yeah, I think station cash shops are always a big topic of discussion, so it definitely came up.
Well, I personally love it. You can sell the greatest dragon warrior or whatever mount in the game, and I'd be happy. So I like spinning virtual. I always say I like spinning more than I like earning. So that's just me. I'm kind of lazy though, so I'm a very lazy player. Nobody listen to me when I say that. Yes, this is Bo and the devs. By the way, if you have any questions about the developers, we have Wigan, T-Lock, and Queck on. So any questions, make sure you have them out, because I'm not going to have them all night, just for about 4 hours. Just kidding.
And by the way, I wanted to mention about the flying mounts. What we've done in the most recent patches, we've actually made it so that people can buy their mounts for cosmetics reasons. And if they've earned the faster mount, they can augment their station cash mount to have that speed. So that way, people who get the elite earned mount can kind of transfer that speed to whatever cosmetic mount they want.
I had no idea. Oh wow.
Yeah, if you mouse over the springworm, you'll actually see the augment slot for it, which is how we did it.
Mount speed enhancement?
Yep.
So how would I did not know that.
Yep, that's been live for like
48
12 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I don't feel so bad then. Okay, good.
Yep. If you have earned so the fastest flying mounts we have in game are 320 flying speed.
Right.
If you've earned one of those, so those are the venerable griffins and the evil and good pegacorns from Pantheon, and there might be a couple others that I'm forgetting. You can then go into Pantheon of the Ancients, and there will be a vendor that goes, "Oh, you've earned one of those mounts." And it'll sell you a little enhancement that allows you to put it in that gives you an extra 110 flying speed.
Okay.
So you don't have to choose between getting the look you want and getting the flying speed that you earned, which is something that we didn't like. We had a couple players going, I really love, they're actually Queck's newest additions, the Skeletal Pegasus and Wicker Pegasus. But they weren't willing to fly at the lower run speed, and we didn't want to sell them at they'll be under the new tab.
Okay.
New
Pegasus.
items on
There
the left. Yeah, the bottom two.
Oh wow! Look at that! Sweet, good work, Queck.
Thank you.
Speaking of which, we need to ask Queck her story with Sony. What's your story? Did they snag you out of college, or what did they do?
I was in college this January, and I got put in for an internship, and basically 2 weeks after my internship ended and I was in my last quarter of college, they just hired me on.
This isn't the girls' scholarship, is it? GIRL?
Oh, no.
Okay.
It was through my school.
Okay, because Sony still does that every year, so I was curious. We wrote up about the winner, and I can't remember where that person went. That's cool. So I mean, you wanted to study art, you now work in the game. So whenever let's say you made this, they said you made this Wicker Pegasus. You put in a program, you design it, and then you're also animating it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're doing everything.
I'm doing animates, rigs,
Nice.
everything.
Very cool. That's something I could never do. I've seen people do it. I'm actually an artist in real life. I can do art plenty, 2D art, but I can't sit there and animate something. That's just insane. So that's good. And it does look good. I'm trying to pay attention to my quests a little bit, so I'm actually doing something. Well, chop down with the tree. Let's see here. So what he basically did is he gave me a harvesting quest. Saplings are good for practice. Oh, I've got to go back over to him over there. That's right. Okay, so since all of you have, you obviously have some experience with Vanguard, and some of you even have a lot more. I think, Wigan, you have a lot more experience with Vanguard. How do you think it's changed the most significantly over the years? Better or good? Complaints. If you want to say something that we've never heard before, go for that. Whatever. But how do you think it's really changed over the last couple of years?
So we spent a lot of time going through, especially the newbie areas and the mid-tier areas, and trying to make it so instead of throwing you right into the fire, because Vanguard's a hardcore game, I mean, you have to know what you're doing at the high end to succeed, or you're just going to die again and again and again. 1 through 10 now kind of hold your hand a lot more than it used to do. It used to really throw you in the fire to people, especially those that have never played an MMO before. And then our design philosophy was that every 10 levels we'd kind of step back and sort of take the training wheels off. So 10 to 20 is a lot less hand-holdy than 1 to 10, and then 20 to 30 there's still a little bit, but then it eases you into what Vanguard is. It's a hardcore MMO. I mean, if you just run out into the wild and don't know what you're doing, you're not going to succeed very well. So we sort of created that smoother transition.
It's actually funny you say that, because the newbie levels have undergone quite a few changes in recent time. Basically, it's whenever you started off. Let's say I'm a Vol main right now. A Vol main is basically kind of like a large wolf creature. It's hard to describe. He's really. In fact, I'll show you some of the character creation here in a little bit. But you literally start off right at this crossing here. Now, before the Vol main in their typical racial starting areas, how we used to call it, was almost Native American style. It was very open plains. They were a really cool, noble race, and they still are. And then for a while, and you still have this, you have the Isle of the Dawn, or Isle of Dawn, I can't remember, Isle of the Dawn.
Isle of Dawn.
Isle of Dawn. Now, are players still predominantly going through there, or does it, of course, if they're just made a character, they usually always have to pick the Isle of Dawn, correct?
Originally there were starting area, I believe 16 starting areas. And one of the initial problems we had after the initial launch is that with 16 starting areas, if you play anything but the peak time with 16 starting areas, you just didn't see anyone.
Right.
So after that initial surge, and we knew that initial surge would happen again with free-to-play, but we were a little worried about it, we condensed it down into, there's now 4 starting areas.
Right.
About half of the players will go to Isle of Dawn, which is a very well-polished newbie area that holds your hand. It gets you ready for the world. And then about half of them go to one of 3 starting areas, one for each continent. And we pick the ones that we personally like the best.
Right.
And so instead of starting in your racial area, you start in a continental area. Mm-hmm. And it's helped. We've seen it help when we log in and play new characters because we see other people. Right. But you still get to see other people. And we've started going through some of them and adding more content to them, and we continue. We can now use them in future updates to add new content to give races more of an identity.
Right.
So that's freed up content areas for us to go in and use to progress the story and give every race more of an identity that they sort of lost by not being able to start in their own unique racial area.
I'm going to talk more about that in a second. Right now, the little NPC I'm talking to here is the harvesting vendor, and she's also going to teach you your first harvesting skills. In Vanguard, you can have the primary, correct me if I'm wrong, the primary and secondary harvesting skills, correct? So you can basically choose 2 harvesting skills. You're going to find them accessible in your harvesting tab. And so what she's basically telling you is, you know, you want to pick out your 2 skills, and then once you pick those out, you're going to actually you're going to use those throughout the game. You saw me earlier chopping trees, so let's say I wanted to choose lumberjacking. I can just choose it that easily. So now I'm lumberjacking, and if I want to choose my secondary, let's say I always enjoyed you know, harvesting the grasses and all that. So I'm going to go to reaping and choose that. And now I'm running through this pretty quickly, but just to give you an idea, this is going to be my character I'm going to play on for a while. But for anybody who's never seen really Vanguard and how it really actually it is a pretty it's not a sandbox in that classic sense, but it's kind of what I like to call a theme box, where you have sandbox elements and you have so many choices in the game that you really can almost make a very specific character. Not only that, maybe you could talk about this a little bit, Wigan, the character classes are not, they're pretty unique to Vanguard because they have multiple abilities that you wouldn't normally find in other MMOs character classes.
Yeah, we have the typical, you know, warrior, dread knight, DK paladin set up, but we also have some really unique classes. I think the 2 most unique are probably the blood mage, which is almost like a healer necromancer mix.
Yeah.
Where you're really trying to focus on transferring life from the enemy to either yourself or your tank instead of a standard healer. And then there's the disciple, who is a melee specialist healer. So he actually, a lot of his healing comes from, as he's hurting the NPC, he's helping his group with heals. And those are 2 unique classes that really don't have counterparts in any other games that I've played, which give Vanguard something to stand out on.
Well, for example, I had a ranger, my main, that Riku Raku. I just absolutely worshipped that little character. He was my permadeath character, and actually I had to delete him. Poor little guy got killed by one of your stupid rhinos out in the desert. But anyway, he was doing really good. He wasn't dying. All of a sudden, he was dead. But he was a ranger, and a ranger even had he had so many little unique abilities that weren't like huge abilities that just like define the class, but there was these little sub abilities that gave you, kind of made the ranger different. Like he had a healing ability, which a lot of people are like, what do you mean he actually could heal himself a little bit. He could heal other people, so it's like he had some spell abilities. He would also be able to do the usual tracking and stuff like that. He had a kind of a pet panther that he used on the side. But there are these other unique abilities that make, like, for example, what am I playing now? I'm playing actually a oh darn it, druid. I know nothing about a druid. I rolled a druid because I know nothing about him. How could you describe, because we've heard the word druid a lot in other MMOs, how would you describe it?
So they're primarily a spellcaster, and secondarily a healer. Unless they really spec into healing, they're going to do better at damaging. But they are more about the spike damage. So they have they're about really the calamities and the wonders. Starting out, you don't really have many of them, but they're sort of like, I can occasionally call in like Mother Nature and do a lot of damage or a lot of healing, but then I have to revert to being sort of more base level. So they push the bounds for small amounts of times and then have to step back and regenerate their phenomenon points to then sort of burst again.
Yeah, and you'll notice the druid's abilities, a lot of their energy-based ones, or some of them anyway, are dots. And so a lot of the gameplay of a druid is managing, when you want to apply your burst damage and building up the calamity points to just lay in right when it's burn time.
Yeah, I have no idea what to expect with this character. That's why I went ahead and rolled him. I almost did it, just on a whim, just to see what would happen. Also, characters have a racial ability as well, so just so you pick that up. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, well, you picked a great class. That's one that I typically play as, that and Ranger.
Yeah, I like the Ranger. I'm a ranged fan. But Rangers in Vanguard as well can also fight up close with their bows and arrows, which I absolutely loved when that quote-unquote bug, because it wasn't really meant to be, was a story I heard. Maybe you guys could clear it up for me. That the Ranger could fight up close with his bows and arrows, but then they decided to leave it in, which I think is brilliant. Because I know that if my buddy was standing next to me and I had a bow and arrow and I pulled it back and shot him with it, he would definitely still feel it. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if he's 10 feet away or a foot away. So I'm glad that was kept in. I just liked it because it meant I didn't have to switch to melee and stuff like that. And also I could never... my permadeath character, I made a rule where he never used any bladed weapons at all, just bows and arrows. So I loved it. I still love it. Okay, so what I was doing is I'm completely lost here because I was going to do my crafting quest. It says that I've got to find Darren Klindall, the Tersch crafting advisor. He can be fenced standing in front of the Volatin Crafting Workshop in Tersch, north of the dormitory. I can't even say that. I forget where he's at because I've done.
That was back around where you were doing the harvesting.
Was it?
Yep.
You can also check on the quest. It has a little tracker icon on it.
Oh, there he is. Okay, yeah. I have played too many games lately. I'm forgetting how to play Vanguard. That's pretty funny.
Especially at the lower levels, you will more than likely have a little tracking icon for pretty much every quest, so that you don't get lost as much as you can at higher levels.
Now this player right here, who cleverly named herself D-Light, might seem like she's tall, but she's actually, the Volmain are probably the second or third tallest race in the game. I think she's a half giant, isn't she? Know what she would be? D-Light. Let's see. What's your?
It's hard to tell with her with that specific.
Well, look, I'm a
armor.
Volmain, and here's a human. See how big she is?
Yeah, she looks like a Varanjar.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Actually, I showed it last time. Let's go ahead and log out. I'm going to show some of the different races because people have to see this. There's a lot. What did I say? Half giant? Oh my gosh. Okay, well let's just.
It's a lesser giant. Come on.
Man, I'm sorry. I play a lot of games. All right, hang on. Who's that over here? Somebody I know.
That's someone with.
Durkin, it's Dirk.
One of the really nice mounts.
Be right back, Dirk. All right, hang on a second. So if I want to create a new character, I'm going to show you the different races here really quick. There's a Thestran human, which that means, and I'll explain the different continents like I did last time, different land areas. There's a dwarf, a halfling, which I made was probably my first character. No, I made a Raki first. High elf. Nobody who plays elves. Come on. Volmain. Do one of you play an elf? Be honest.
I actually am a Volmain.
Oh, okay, good.
You picked pretty well.
Good. Varanjar. There you're right. Varanjar. Lesser giant. Varanjar, like a more handsome lesser giant. Humans, wood elves. Wood elves are kind of cool. Half elf, whatever. Raki, my favorite race. This is my mains race. Rakis are actually space aliens. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, they're from a different dimension.
Well, let's say space aliens. I think.
They've been kind of marooned here from their home world.
Now, I made a female goblin for my wife's character. And I'm telling you, I had so much fun on that character. It's such a fun starting area. The orc/goblin area. There's orcs, dark elves, gnomes. I know a developer there used to work there, played gnomes, and I hated gnomes. Humans. Let's see, Varanthi. However you say that. I can never say that one. Mordebi and Karashirari. They are like cat people. Did I say that wrong?
A little bit.
Probably. Okay,
Kurashasa.
Oh, there you go. Who cares? They're cat people. Nobody likes them. All right, so let's log in my main. This is the second iteration of my main character, Riku Raku. My beloved character reached level 32, which was for me just a very important level at the time, and then he had to die. So I went ahead and killed him off. What's great about what you have done lately with the cash shop too, and maybe Quick could talk a little bit about this, since she is, of course, the artist in the group. The armor sets that you're selling in the cash shop, people don't realize with Vanguard is some of the armor is so detailed. Quick, are you working on armor? Have you done a lot of armor since you've been there?
I haven't done armor yet.
Okay.
But I helped with the dragon bone armor.
Now, is that in game or is it in the shop?
Is the dragon bone armor in game?
The dragon bone is just in the shop right now.
Just in the shop.
So would that be outfits? Dragon bone armor right there.
Appearance, outfits.
Let's take a look
yep.
at it. Holy moly, look at that.
Look at the
That's cool.
Yeah, that was Roach's work. I think it looks excellent, especially because it's one of the things that I love is that it's not symmetrical.
Right.
Like if you look at the shoulder pads, it's not symmetrical, and there's only a couple other armor pieces in Vanguard that have the asymmetric look, and I think it looks really good, and it was something new that really fit into the art style of Vanguard.
Sure. Well, and again, are you concerned about having cooler stuff in the shop than you do in game, or are you making sure? Because I've seen some of the high-level armor because of Margaret and other players like that. I mean, there is some sick-looking armor in Vanguard, especially high level. So are you conscious of that when you're designing something for the shop?
So looks we're not too concerned with selling. We try and stay away from directly selling like stuff that you click on it and you're instantly more powerful.
Right.
But we're pretty okay with putting a lot of the looks on the marketplace.
Okay. But you're still saving. I mean, there is some incredible looking armor in the game still, so that you earn only through game that I've seen. Like I guess the APW sets, is that right?
Yep.
Like
some of these appearance sets are also, they are either APW sets or they're recolorations of some of that armor.
Very cool.
And there's still some assets that we still haven't used. There's a lot of really nice looking diplomacy gear that we eventually want to put in the game, if not on the marketplace, if it's in game.
Let's see if I can get up there. If not, I'm gonna have to use my flying mount. Let's put him on real quick. Sorry, I'm getting up in that. I'm in that special area that you can use the free flying mount. Yeah, I see. I bought this Scout's armor. I absolutely loved it because I like not having to worry about changing my armor out all the time for look, because I would mess with. I'd get a powerful piece and it wouldn't quite look right. So the appearance armor has been really nice. Now you added a long time ago. You added the appearance slot, which basically it allows you to put whatever you want into that slot, and your armor will take over that appearance. Do you have any other plans to add to that, or is that something you're always pretty much just that's reserved for the kind of the item shop?
We definitely do want to expand on the appearance slot system. Right now, it doesn't offer weapons, and it also doesn't offer mounts. So that's something that we want to improve on to allow you to pick your weapons or pick your mount so that you can earn a faster mount and instantly, but then go, I really don't like the way this one looks, so I'm going to go pick this one. So we really want to get those implemented when Tim gets some time. But Tim tends to be very busy with other things that we all make him do.
So would you be able to do it in the reverse? If I bought a mount and liked the effects of that, I could put it on, let's say, just a lowly old horse or something?
Yep. It would just be you get your stats from one of them, and you get the appearance from the other.
Very cool.
So your main mount tab would have one mount, and then you just put whatever you wanted to look like in the appearance tab.
Very cool.
Of course, there would be some restrictions. I mean, you couldn't put a flying mount as your real mount, and then a walking horse as your appearance.
Right, right.
Yeah, it'd be one-to-one mount to flying mount slots.
Although, speaking of flying mounts that actually are just mounts, we're talking Randolph the reindeer. Is Randolph activated yet? I don't know. Let's see.
No, it's the Spirit of Glorian is not powerful right now.
That sucks because I really liked Randolph. Now, whenever this is how back in my day in playing Vanguard, we had to get the Christmas flying mount because we were too noob to get an actual flying mount. We were like, it's time to fly, and you could fly. Now, of course, it flies at like -2 speed. It was kind of a piece of junk, flying mount, but it looked really cool, as you can see, and you could fly everywhere, and it was like, yay! And during Christmas, I would get in Vanguard, and I would explore as much as I possibly humanly could because of that free flying mount. So whatever people said about it, I've always appreciated the free flying mount. It's done me a lot of good. Okay, so since I have all you here, though, let's see if I can get you to maybe spill the beans on some exclusive information. What can we see Now, of course, if you can't give me exclusive information, just pretend it's exclusive. What are we going to be?
We have some things we can share.
Yes, please share. Tell us, what are we going to expect over the next? It's getting near the end of the year, so let's say over 2004.
14.
What did I say? Oh my gosh, 2014. Yes.
So I am in the workings of making a new mount for the marketplace.
Okay.
And you know the worm mount you were writing on your last character?
Yes.
I'm going to make a clockwork version.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with gears and pipes and smokestacks and everything.
Wow. So that's a big project.
It's very cool looking. It's almost done, but we can see it, and it's really good.
So would that be a seasonal thing, you think, or is that, you know, how long we're gonna be till we see that, or?
It should be out next month. Would you say?
Put a date on it, people.
Hoping to do it sometime before Thanksgiving.
You heard it here. Put a date on it, and then do me a favor. When it doesn't come out next month, go on the forums and scream about it. They love when you do that, right?
We're hoping to after the Halloween sales are over to hopefully put it on the marketplace. It does look amazing though. She's always impressed me when she brings in her work, and I see, a bear skeleton, and then the next day it's like, how did you turn that into something awesome?
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. All right, so we've got a new mount, possibly a clockwork worm mount. Now, what else? Can you tell me anything? Maybe for, let's say, I don't know, super high level players that want to go kill monsters. Do you have anything like that?
Yep. We are currently working on Cave of Wonders.
I've heard some about this. Can you explain a little bit about its background? What they could probably expect to see while in the game?
Cave of Wonders
sorry.
continues the City of Brass story arc. City of Brass is the home of the Jinn, and Cave of Wonders is where the most powerful of the Jinn resides, and you will work your way through a total of 4 wings. Each wing is going to be its own separate release. The first wing is going to have 5 bosses. We have some new art assets, some new NPC models that we're going to be putting into game. We're soon going to do an article about a couple of the bosses that they'll see, and we're hoping to have the first iteration of Cave of Wonders on test server fairly soon. Right now, the biggest holdup is we're doing a lot of performance upgrades on the back end,
right?
And they sort of have to go together. So that's our biggest holdup. But those are almost done, and then players will be invited to come and see and test it out, and then it'll go live soon after that.
Well, performance has always been an issue with Vanguard. We know anybody that played it back in the beginning, of course, knew that. I get a little tired of hearing about the beginning of it because I know a lot of MMOs that started off with poor performance. It's just a sign of technology. But you still have some issues with hitching, or I don't know how bad the issues get as far as what you've heard. But is there any developments on that? We're talking about finally getting the getting the hitching problem under control.
Well, that comes down to what type of hitching you're talking about.
Crossing a server hitching.
So that is mostly.
Don't blame it on my computer.
Well, that's what it's going to come down to. From the server side, that actually happens pretty smoothly now, and it hadn't always been that way, but it does now pretty well. The biggest thing actually is the hard drive loading time for the art assets of the next 3 chunks that your visibility bubble is walking into.
Poor Riku.
I didn't realize I was attacking a named Borscher, level 18, and his minions. I was just kind of fighting around. Go ahead, though. I'm sorry. So you're saying that my computer sucks and I should probably get a new one, in other words.
Well, just get a solid-state drive, maybe.
I ain't down with technology. All right, so the hitching, in other words, though, it has gotten better over the years. As a matter of fact, I know that you had New Targanor used to be the big city of New Targanor. I could probably go and fly to it real quick. Is a grand city, but a lot of people said it wasn't used much. It was kind of a hitchy place and all that. But didn't you, in recent times, redo the city into kind of an open dungeon, or am I am I hearing wrong?
Oh, you're thinking of Old Target.
I mean, Old Target. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, we revamped Old Targanor recently, and that was mainly because it was underutilized. It was a very cool area.
Yeah, it's very cool.
But it was underutilized because it was like late 40s level, and with the level cap up to 55, players weren't spending a lot of time in there. But level 50 to 55 took a really long time, so we made it a really good place to go once you hit 50 to level up and sort of get that first set of gear that helps you be a cap level player.
Okay.
But New Targanor is still there, and it performs much better than it used to. There's been a lot of code optimizations.
Yeah, I would like to go to it. It's just an absolutely gorgeous city. Vanguard is known for its cities like that. Talking about, I showed Call last time, a great big circular city. And another thing that I always point out to people when they're just not familiar with Vanguard, or if they forget, it's one of the few MMOs where you can point to something somewhere, and you can say, I want to go to that, and you can literally go to that. I mean, you can fly to it, run to it, whatever you want. I wanted to show real quick that I died. It's a good opportunity to show people who might not be familiar with what happens in the death penalty as you die. Is you're going to leave a tombstone. Now, I could go back to a safer area and just have the safer area, the shrine, actually call back my tombstone for me. Now, I don't know if you noticed in my massive font-sized chat thing, I have to do that because I'm getting old and I'm an old gamer and I have bad eyes. So, you know, that's I got nerd cred there for having bad eyes. But you can see I actually lost some. Where am I? Darn it! I lost my navigator. Anyway, it says that I actually lost some experience when I died. Now I can gain most of that experience back. You'll see that when I actually get my stuff back, I gained 13,939 adventuring experience back. So actually, by going and getting your corpse, your tombstone, you actually gain most of the experience back that you lose. Have you worked on that in recent time, guys? Where are you trying to make the death penalty easier, or it's pretty much stayed the same over the years?
Right now, it's not. There's definitely a reason to not die, but if you go back and you work and you recover your corpse, the penalty's not bad.
Right.
So we're pretty happy where the death penalty is.
I've always been curious, is it based on a percentage of damage that you took or whatever, or is there a set formula that you use to kind of determine the death penalty?
I believe it is a percentage of your total experience.
Okay.
So just the higher level you get, the more it's going to take.
Very cool. Okay. That's always been kind of a question I wondered. Who do I have here? Dirk, you don't have to sneak around. You're level 55, man. He's like, hey, let me sneak up to these guys and now help him. I don't want to die again, Dirk. I don't want to die. Now look, he's gonna watch me die. What a friend he is. Oh, did he kill them all? Yeah, that's the way to do it. Let me loot. Thank you. I got an Abraham ninja loot. Very cool. There's a lot of that too in the game. You have these mobs just walking around. You still have the overland mobs, of course, that were a big deal. Are you planning on putting new ones of those in, or are players still kind of conquering the ones you already have?
We have the giant story arc, which is Fengrot, Barking, Karax, and all those. There's still a giants will still be coming out to fill out that story arc.
Very cool. The giants area is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, they're the most recent one added was Allagan and Therodon,
Okay.
and they will be. That story arc will continue more after parts of Cave of Wonders are done, if not after the whole thing of Cave of Wonders is done. But we will be revisiting those giants, so there'll be more overlands coming. But right now, we really want to focus on giving our players that big, massive raid dungeon experience that they love and they've been asking for, that we haven't given them since Ancient Port Warehouse.
Well, and I was actually thinking about this today, thinking about maybe researching it a bit for the article, for an article, because you know, raiding is still an issue. It's still a thing for people. People still really enjoy it. But it doesn't seem like you have games that necessarily come out with that really intense raiding like they have with Vanguard, where you have to get a certain amount of people together and everything's on the line and stuff like that. So I wonder if that's a trend that you're happy to carry on, or do you think that Vanguard might want to you know, adjust with the times a little bit and become a little bit more of a soft core type of game, you know, a little bit easier?
No, we want to keep and appease our customers who they're not playing the other games because they want the soft core. They want to get their 23 friends together and take out something and make it and feel good, because, you know, I just took down a massive giant that, you know, the first time we pulled him we died in 7 seconds, right? That, you know, we beat it not just because our characters are good, but we're good players, and we want them to be rewarded for that, and we think that a lot of players are very happy to have that more hardcore experience.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to scare off any potential new players who think that the game is impossibly difficult or whatever. I completely suck at video games, even though I do it for my living. So, but I found that the thing about Vanguard, and this is why I was kind of like a theme box, is you can run around just killing stuff like I'm trying to do here while I'm talking to developers, or you can spend time going through linear quest line, you know, very epic long quest lines. A chupacabra. Or you can work your way to max level and go through the dungeons with your 23 groups of friends. I don't have 23 friends, so I don't know who he's talking about there, but who in their right mind has 23 friends? But you can do whatever you basically want. Now it's set in what you would call more of a theme park world where it's linear content. But even, and I'll show this real quick on my map. And you guys might want to comment on this. Even the 3 continents, Kalia. I'm saying everything wrong. Kojan, or is that Kojak? Kojan, and then Thestra. Thestra is the continent I'm in right now. They all have not only a distinct look, as you can see, this is more foresty and mountains and stuff like that. A little bit more of a classical kind of, what I think a lot of people would define as kind of a classical RPG, you know, fantasy setting with the trees and all that good stuff.
Medieval Europe.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the Kalia, which is more of the desert area, you know, big vistas, stuff like that, really hot looking, camels, all sorts of cool stuff. And then you have Kojan, which is almost more, I guess, Eastern themed. Probably, is that how you describe it?
Yep.
Yeah, and each one is so distinct that when you go to each continent, you actually have the ability to choose from a set of. Each continent has quest and stuff to do for people of every level. So you can start off, you can be level 1 and go to the brand new continent and still find things to do. So in that way, it's very much what you would call a theme park, I guess. So if you're into that kind of linear goal-oriented type of stuff, it definitely has that. But if you want to do what I do and just go around and goof off, you can definitely do that as well, trust me, and kill lots of time and find lots of things to do. So I don't know if that's probably off the mark there, if any of you want to speak to that. But
nope, that's actually something we prided ourselves on, and something when we were revamping areas, we tried to keep true to. There are hidden quests that there is no quest bang, and you just have to have the items in your inventory and know who to talk to, and you know, people had to find it out. There's quests like that, and when we revamped, we talked about going through and making them more on the traditional path, and we didn't feel that would do justice to what Vanguard is about, and it's giving those people like you the chance to just wander the world and explore and find things. So there's a lot of things to find, and we pride ourselves on that.
Yeah, I mean, you will feel this happens at the peak times and at the lowest times. Vanguard is such a large world with so much content spread out. That it can, sometimes you can think, hey, where are all the people at? But it definitely, that's because you have, it's not funneling players through specific content like, oh, I can name a million games, but where you're literally going to find all the level 18s in this area, and you're going to find all the level 15s in this area. It doesn't work that way in Vanguard necessarily. So at events and stuff, you'll definitely get to see how much of the population comes out. Which, speaking of which, people were surprised when I was saying that I'm streaming Vanguard. I always get a comment or two. What do you say to that? How has Vanguard survived all these years, especially some of the rougher years earlier on?
So it really appeals to people who aren't serviced by a lot of the newer games that do funnel you exactly through. Everyone of level 10 is here. Everyone of level 20 is here, and this is all of them if they're not sitting in town. We let people explore the world on their own and go out and do what they want to do. I mean, you can follow the quest lines and it will show you a story arc, but that's just a story arc for your level. That's not the story arc for your level. And it doesn't hold your hand as much as other games. You can make mistakes. I mean, if you pull a group and you don't scout it out, you get 4 NPCs that kill you.
I can speak to that. Yes.
So there are people that want that harder game where mistakes are punished, and we try and appeal to them. We're not gonna try and compete for the linear hand-holding audience. We're gonna differentiate ourselves and give a different game experience for them.
Right. So I'm starting out brand new, let's say on my earlier character. What else can I expect through that newer area? What am I going to keep? Am I just going to continue to? Am I eventually going to work into the standard question area, or is it its own content for a while?
So it will lead you through its story arc. Sorry, Tinku's apparently mad at me for some reason. It will lead you through a story arc, and if you want your handheld, just follow the quest lines. If you explore, you can go into different quest areas, and you can just hop into another continent. If you look at the rift system, you can. There's 3 different colored rifts, and it'll tell you what level that rift area is. And you're always free to just hop to another story arc.
So what he's basically referencing here is if you look at the rifts are color-coded for their levels. So let's say I'm level 20 right now, so I can use any rift that's up to level 20. Or if I can fit in that, like this one's, for example, level 15 to 22, so I could use that one. It's also going to have a cost associated with it. So your rifts are kind of your speedy travel, but I've always found that, and I think that just through my kind of natural polling, just talking to a lot of players, I found that a lot of them really end up not using the rifts that much, at least at lower levels, because your questing will send you over there, and it's not so far, and it's actually quite a beautiful trip anyway. So a lot of people end up just kind of, using the natural methods, walking, riding a mount, or you can also rent a flying mount for what, 2 minutes, 5 minutes? I can't remember. 5 minutes. I believe
it's 5 or 10.
Yeah. So which doesn't sound like long, but it's long enough to get you where you go. You get to see the natural area and stuff like that. So all of the riftways are definitely a speedy way to travel. Until I think you really are going to have to use them later. It's not going to really affect you that much if you don't want to use them. Because that's been a topic of debate for quite a while. I have a bugbear. No, he's dead. Okay, good.
Yeah, if you're not forced to use rifts except getting off Isle of Dawn, they all will. You can just go through the game at your own pace and not use them. Or you can just use them if you feel that, like, you're getting tired of, the Western Europe feel. Like, you can go, I want to just go to one other place. And use them just once to get you into another story arc, effectively. And you can just leave and then you get your own story arc. They're not linked. They're all standalone areas, so even just using them a couple times you can experience multiple different areas and then not use them on your day-to-day travel leveling up. That's not required if you don't want to use them.
Yeah, I found that I didn't use them that much. In fact, I preferred not to. I actually preferred to travel by boat. On my immersion character, I made him use only natural forms of travel, and it worked out really well. It took a little longer, but it's definitely worth the journey and all that. Okay, guys, you have about 5 more minutes with the developers. If you have any questions, you better ask them now, because they're going traveling somewhere or something. Or I know that's the PR people. Never mind. But you ask their questions if you have it. Also, if you notice that my Twitter is down there and my email, if you want to contact me on either of those to ask questions that you might have thought of during the stream, or if you're watching this recorded later. Definitely send me those questions, and I can maybe forward those on, because I definitely plan on covering Vanguard more over the new year. So other than that, we have the new area that's kind of different. What else can you tell me about that's going to happen in 2014 for Vanguard? Because Vanguard is going to still be around in 2014, correct, Amundo?
Yep, our team is focused on long-term changes and improvements. That's why we're doing the performance upgrades that we're working on right now, is because we want to be around a long time. And we felt that getting the game playing very well, especially in raiding situations, was something that our players deserved and needed. So we invested a lot of time into a lot of work into making it perform well in raiding situations where you have 24 players fighting a big NPC and maybe another 24, 500 yards to the north fighting their big guy. The game should perform much better after the performance upgrades go out, and that's so that we can keep our players happy over the long term, instead of just doing small little content updates and slowly, falling off the map. We wanted to do it right and do good by our players.
Well, performance has always been an issue in the dungeons, but I think that what you have is, Vanguard's an older game, but the engine of it is still a beautiful engine. It still requires a pretty beefy machine to run, especially in a situation where you have 24 high-level shiny armor and weapons and spell effects going off. It can actually still be quite a performance, so just be aware of that if you're going to play it later, especially get into raiding. So that's what you're talking about, though, is mostly fixing those kind of issues where raiders aren't, because they have to have split-second timing sometime, and you don't want them to miss that opportunity. So.
And a lot of our players in some of the really hard raids felt like they were fighting the lag monster than the counter they were actually fighting, and that's not what we want our players to experience. We want them to have smooth gameplay and a good time. So that's what our biggest priority is.
Very cool. All right, let me get out of this crazy outfit I'm on. That is, actually, I can't remember where I got that robot outfit. You gave it out, I think, for holiday one time. I can't remember.
I think it might have been a veteran reward.
Okay, veteran. Yeah, and speaking of which, I have a whole bunch I need to claim on my other character. Let's see here. Yes, MJ is actually in the chat room, guys. She is the other streamer that has... She's probably actually streamed Vanguard more than me over the last year, so you definitely need to get in contact with her and go kill some monsters and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been a great time streaming it again. I actually still play it about once a week. I don't get very far. I end up plucking around and finding some quests and stuff like that. But before we leave Wigan, T-Lock, and Queck, I want to hear from each of you maybe a reason that somebody should pick up the game, go check it out if they haven't before, or return to the game. Wigan, if you want to go first. I want you to inspire me, Wigan. I want to feel like I want to pick up Vanguard right now and be on a mount that looks like a wolf with some wreath on it in the game, which I am right now, by the way. And by the way, that was the new model. You had the old model was a ghostier wolf. So
that one's still available. There's still the Spirit of Kami.
I preferred this one. So
yeah,
I'm glad
it's definitely one of the better models in the game.
I think it's awesome.
I think people should play Vanguard if they feel like they don't want to have their hand held for the entire game. And they want that old gaming experience that's been sort of lost, where now everything's sort of really easy and accessible to everyone, and they want like what they had when they went back and first played EQ, and wow, this game is hard. Like, oh my God, you're level 30. You must be so good. If you want something more similar to that, Vanguard does a really good job of capturing that and making, when you see somebody in really good armor, you know that they didn't just grind out tokens every day for 6 weeks to get it. They took out something really big and really hard and worked really hard on their character to get it.
Of course, yeah.
So if you want sort of that feel, and if you want to play in a world where, as you said before, if you can see it, you can go there.
Yep.
Like that rainbow thing off in the distance, like you can just see that and then go, I wonder what that is, and go over and see it.
Which is it's a great way to play, but it does get you killed a lot. I'm going to speak from first-hand experience on that.
Yep, some of the shiny stuff is because there's agents of death there.
Right. Oh, actually, we got to get going here pretty quick. We got a stream coming up right after then MJ, as a matter of fact. I just noticed the time. Let's go ahead and get out of here real quick. T-Lock, give me like 3 words telling me why I should say. Come on, gotta hurry.
Go out and explore.
That's like 4, but that's good. That's good, actually. Quick, give me like 4 words, 5 words. Make them super good words.
Awesome flying mounts.
There you go. That was 3. You totally nerfed what I asked for, so that's cool. But see, now I'm at the rainbow thing. But thank you guys again for joining me. We'll do it again sometime. We'll actually run some content next time, get you guys in game. I want to get you in game and actually playing with me. That's what I want, so I can see how good you are, because I'm like the best player in Vanguard, period. So. Anyway, MJ's up next. Let's see what MJ. I'm forgetting what you're streaming. EverQuest 2 with MJ's up next, which is another Sony Online-Entertainment game. As a matter of fact, these devs can just stick around and help MJ out too. So. But thanks again for joining me, everybody. Thank you, chat room, for joining me. Stick around for MJ. We will definitely be playing some more Vanguard in the future. Streaming stuff is kind of coming up to some changes starting next week. Keep an eye on the stream team over there at massively.com. And if you want to write for massively.com, we are currently hiring a columnist and some freelancers out in San Francisco area. So please go apply. You can, if you're just a regular, you're applying for the general position, you can work from home playing video games. It's absolutely freaking fantastic. So, but I appreciate you guys for joining me. Thanks again, 3 developers from Sony Online Entertainment.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And MJ's up next. Everybody stick around. Bye-bye.